Hi, everyone. Oh my goodness, it's the end of the year. Can you believe it? Yeah, it's the end of the year. We're right on the cusp of 2025. Of course, we already went through the solstice, which for me is the new year. And then we have more New Year's to come in January. So New Year's just kind of keep on coming. And if you've been paying attention at all, you'll notice that there are many, 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 many predictions about 2025. And what I want to say to you is, yes, there are many predictions, and I'm going to talk about what some of those are based on today and give a human design lens to the astrology, but also talk about astrology and themes, okay? And I also want to say to you that the most important thing that you can focus on as we go through 2025 is your inner landscape, your inner state, your state of consciousness, the state of your energy, your vitality, your radiance, your emotions. That's the most important thing you can focus on. Because right now, there's a lot of things out there in the outer world that are trying to call your attention. And there are a lot of things that are trying to stir up fear. Okay? And I really want to support you to take command of your own emotional state, your state of consciousness, and stay out of fear. And if you do fall into fear, because we all fall into fear on occasion, right, is to grasp yourself as soon as you can and be like, wait, is there real and present danger right now, right here? Because if there isn't, there's no need for fear. There could be caution, there could be awareness, there could be, watching stuff. Yeah, discernment. Absolutely. You can do all of that. But fear grabs you and it pulls you down. It shuts off your frontal lobe and makes it so you can't really think. It makes it very hard to connect with your intuition because they're all kind of distorted with fear pictures and stuff. So that's the thing I want to say right here at the outset is the most important thing you can do for yourself is take care of yourself, take care of your emotional state, take care of your state of consciousness, and be looking to the planets and how they can really support you. Because if you do look, they will. Okay, so this video is going to be a look forward into 2025. We're going to focus on January and we're going to focus on some of the big themes of the outer planets. This is not a video where I'm going to dive into the sun and the earth movements. I'm actually not going to be doing them anymore the way that I've been doing them. It's been 4 years I've been doing them every 5 to 6 days. So I'm not going to continue to do those. However, I will provide other opportunities for you to work with me on the transits if you want to. I am putting together that training that I've told you about, and we'll also have some other opportunities to do some more work together and actually be able to converse and talk about it and not just have it be a one-way thing where I'm just putting out information for you. So if you're interested in that, please do come and join us for Master the Neutrino Stream. This is a seminar I'll be doing on January 7th. It is my gift to you for this new year. But you do have to register. So the link for that will be at the end of the video and it'll be down in the description below. And I hope that you do come and I hope I'll see you there. And we'll be talking about mastering the neutrino streams and the program that I'm putting together, opportunities to work on that together, and then other things going to be unfolding for us in 2025. So I certainly hope that you're going to be there. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into our transit report for 2025. You have the opportunity right now to start your year off right by taking advantage of this Capricorn new moon that is happening on the 30th of December. So if you're watching this video afterwards, you can still do this practice, but it's going to be most juicy if you do it on the day or the day after. Okay. But every new moon is a chance to begin again, right? The new moon happens when the sun and the moon are conjunct, which is what we say in astrology, or where they're in the same gate, is what we say in human design. So with this new moon, it's in the gate 38, and the gate 38 is in the sign of Capricorn. So let's talk about Capricorn for a second. So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is the great teacher. Saturn is structure. Okay. Saturn can be seen as a kind of top down authority in certain ways. Certainly in the shadow of Saturn can very much be top down authority. But Saturn is also a huge ally for us in growing our personal practice, growing our personal discipline. I know I've spent a lot of time working with Saturn. Saturn helped me get a PhD because I had my first Saturn return while I was in graduate school. Totally helped me get my PhD. And that working with Saturn over the years has helped me to be an independent scholar for all the years that I have been. Right? Doing all the work that I've done. So I encourage you to think of Saturn as an ally and an ally around personal practice. And if you've been following me for a while, you may have heard me talk about how the missing ingredient for so many people on their spiritual path journey is practice. You know, it tends to be sporadic, or you try this and you try that, or then you don't do anything for a long time, and then you kind of fall into your default energy, your default belief system, right? That's when you can also get hooked into fear and all that. Whereas when we have a personal practice that supports us to be connecting with ourselves. This is one of the big things we do in the Sovereign Sisterhood is build our practice, build our connection with ourselves. And as we go through this 2025, when there's going to be a lot of things that are changing, the outer world's going to be noisy and it's going to be trying to capture your attention, the more that you can be in command of your own energy field, what you're focusing on, what your emotions are, what your frequency is, the better off you're going to be. And the best way to do that is through everyday spiritual practice. So now we know that about Capricorn, right? And then the sun and the moon are both in the gate 38. So the gate 38 is in the knowing circuit. It's individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It's really a kind of revolutionary energy. And the 38 is known as the fighter in traditional human design, or the visionary leader in quantum human design. A lot of times it's called the Martin Luther King gate, because it is about, I like to call it the stake in the ground energy. It's like, what are you willing to put a stake in the ground around for yourself? And to me, there's no better way to start your year than to really be tuning in to what matters to me. Like what really matters? Like what's at the top of my list? What matters to me personally? What matters to me in terms of my family and my close community? What matters to me in terms of the collective? These are all important things to be tuning into, right? And if we think about the figure of Martin Luther King, right, as he was willing to put a stake in the ground around equality, to say, there's no reason there should be laws against a whole group of people because of the color of their skin. Like, that's not right. You know, we need to change this. And he was willing to put a stake in the ground around that. And he lost his life being an advocate for that. Now, you do not have to lose your life being an advocate for what you think is most important, but to just light the fire inside of you. Right? And ground yourself in it, because this is in the root, even though the sun and the moon are there, right? It's on the root center. So you can ground your sense in this sense of, this is what really matters to me. So I would encourage you just to do some writing for yourself about it, or some drawing, or pull some pictures together, go for a walk and contemplate, have a deep conversation with people who matter in your life, and really kind of dig into this, because it can set you up for the whole rest of 2025. There are two big stories I want to share with you today. One has to do with January itself, and we'll get to that one second. And then the other has to do with what's going on in the astrology. And I'm going to focus on 2025, but really there's a lot that's going on over the next few years. And I want to let you know that, I'm a human design expert, right? I spent years learning human design and practicing it, working with clients and students and so on. But I've been getting drawn more and more into astrology because the astrology is so powerful. And human design doesn't necessarily show us this, because we tend to focus on the transits of the sun and the earth. That's what we tend to focus on. That's what I did for years, right? Was the sun and the earth. But the big stories that we have right now have to do with the outer planets. So let's take a look at what's happening in January, just in January of 2025, and then look at what's happening over the course of the year. Okay, so if we just zero in on January, Okay, and we look at what's happening with the outer planets and nodes. Every single one of these outer planets, other than Uranus, is changing gates in human design. Okay, every single one is changing gates. So Jupiter, who's in Gemini, is going to go from the 35 to the 16 on the 27th. Saturn, that's in Pisces, is going to go from the 63 to the 22 on January 28th. Uranus, which is retrograde, is going to move from the 20th, it's going to go direct on January 30th. Neptune, who's in Pisces, is going to go from the 36th to the 25th on February 10th. And Pluto, who's in Aquarius, is going to go from the 60 to gate 41. And then the nodes at the end, very end of January, are going to move into the gate 36 and the gate 6. So just to say, without zeroing in on a lot of specifics, you can see there's just a lot of what's happening at the end of January. So we'll talk about that a little bit more specifically. But let's take a look at the outer planets and their orbits, just so you get a sense of how long some of these are, right? And these are in order out from the sun. So Jupiter's overall orbit is about 2.25 months, about 5 weeks, right? Saturn is about 5.5 months. Uranus is about 1.33 years. Neptune is 2.5 to 0.6 years, and then Pluto is in the neighborhood of 4 years. Although you will see when we take a look at Pluto's transit, you'll see that it actually stays for really different amounts of time in different astrological signs. And then if we take a look here, so this is the outer planets in the whole year of 2025. So we already know that Pluto entered Aquarius. So Pluto already changed signs completely in November. Neptune is going to change signs, moving from Pisces into Aries at the end of March. And then get this, Saturn is going to catch up with Neptune, also have been in Pisces, is going to move into Aries at the end of May. And Jupiter is going to move into Cancer on June 10th, and Uranus is going to enter Gemini on July 7th. So you can see between March and July, all of these planets are going to be changing sign. Now, according to the astrologers, this is extremely rare. I've heard different reports about how long ago it was, but it was thousands of years. Okay, so we can just stay with that for right now, right? So this is a really big deal because the outer planets stay in a place for a while. They stay in a gate for a while. They stay in a sign for a while. And they're kind of beaming the energy of those different archetypes to us and saying, hey, pay attention here. Pay attention here. That's why they're called transpersonal planets or generational planets, because they stay somewhere and they sort of create the kind of energy for a whole era, if you will. Right? Pluto in particular, because Pluto's orbits are so long, right? But in general, these outer planets really influence us for a period of time. So when they change signs like that, and especially when I take a look at, Saturn and Neptune are going from Pisces, which is very emotional, it's very watery, has issues with boundaries, can kind of be mergy, right? Can be like in the subconscious, can be very imaginary, it's not that it doesn't have positive attributes, because it does, but it tends to be a little like, ooh, right? And we're going to move into Aries. Aries is like, all right, let's get going. Like, I have an Aries sun, right? It's like, come on, what are we doing? Let's get busy. Let's make some stuff happen. Come on, let's go. Right? Aries is very like not watery. Aries is fire and action and sovereignty. So we already knew that when Pluto moved into Aquarius, that we were moving into an age of personal sovereignty. Absolutely, Aquarius supports personal sovereignty, but personal sovereignty in the context of community and aligned with the divine will or with cosmic consciousness, right? With unity consciousness. This is what's coming in, and this is what the planets are pointing us to. Right? And so we already saw that happening, but now we're going to get a big boost in March and a big boost in May as those two big influential planets both move into Aries. This is going to be a big change, and we're going to feel it, and it's going to be bringing a lot more power to the individual. We already know that this is happening, right, with Pluto and Aquarius, but it's going to get even more energy as these two planets move into Aries. So I want to take you through a little tour of what this means in the outer planets. We're going to come back to Pluto later on when we talk about what's happening in January, because it's a big, big story with Pluto in January. Okay, let's take a look at Uranus. So Uranus is currently in the gate 23, has been in the gate 23. The gate 23 is assimilation or transmission. It is right here, we connect the ajna to the throat. It's in the knowing circuit. You'll see on March 26th, Uranus is going to move into the gate 8, and then on July 10th is going to move into the gate 20. Now, all three of these gates are in the knowing circuit. And so I want to emphasize that this is individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. It doesn't fit in. And it's where the evolutionary impulse of humanity runs through the human design chart. And Uranus has been walking through the knowing circuit. So I just want to emphasize that this is kind of like, Uranus is like the god of sudden transformation and of awakening, right? And it's can be very disruptive, right? Can move stuff, right? Move stuff. And so Uranus is intense, right? And is intense change. And then Uranus has been going through all these gates that are all about change. They're all about innovation. They're all about doing something different. The 23 is how do we bring voice to, put words to the intuitive downloads that we're getting. The gate 8 is about our contribution. How is our contribution coming from our hearts? Because it's fueled by the G center. Like, how is our contribution in alignment with our highest purpose? And then the gate 20 is like, are we in the right time? Are things all lined up? How do we get everything all lined up so that we know that it's the right time to be moving forward with our plans? But all of these are highly intuitive and highly innovative. So we want to be looking for what are the things that are being downloaded to us, and to pay attention to them, write them down, do drawings of them, do collages of them, talk to trusted friends about it. Don't just dismiss this as being like, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I got this idea, but I have no idea what it is. Actually pay attention, honor them. Right? This is one of the ways that you can really work with these transits. Honor what they're bringing you and honor what they're asking you to pay attention to. So I just want to show you this slide because I think these are kind of fun. You can see that Uranus entered Taurus in 2018, and then it's going to move into Gemini in July. So again, this is kind of a long cycle, right? With all the retrogrades, the forward and back and all of that, right? But we're going to move into Gemini, and this is going to bring a lot of kind of buzzy, fast electrical energy because Gemini is kind of like that anyway. And then Uranus is going to bring a lot more of that energy in. And then Jupiter is in the gate 35. There's the gate of experience, and this is in the sensing circuit. And it is creative, it's experiential, it's embodied, it's expansive, it's right-brained energy. And so he's been there, and he's going to be there till the end of the month. So we'll have one more month with Jupiter in the 35. So Jupiter is retrograde. And is going to retrograde back into the gate 16 on the 28th, but then it's going to turn around and go forward in February. It's going to be moving forward back into the 35 for most of February and March, and then it's going to move forward into the gate 45 in April. So the 16 is the gate of zest, and the 35 again is experience. So we're going to have another period of really looking at change and experience, and then we're going to move into tribal leadership in April. So that's going to be a big deal. Whenever Jupiter comes into the 45, it's really a wake-up call for us around how are we experiencing and expressing our sovereignty. Because the gate 45 traditionally is the sovereign gate or the king or queen gate. And we've been evolving this energy since we don't have very much royalty around anymore. We don't have any kind of real kings and queens around very much anymore, although there's kind of queens everywhere if you take a look around. Right, but Jupiter in the 45, Jupiter is saying, how are you expressing your own sovereignty, right? Because this can become dictatorship. It can be authoritarian. And so we've been seeing this, happening and being expressed in different parts of the world. And it's growing in some places. And so this is going to be your personal time to be looking at how are you expressing your own sovereignty. You can see there's a big theme around sovereignty happening this year for sure. So because Jupiter moves faster, right, he's moving through different gates, and Jupiter is going to move into Cancer on the 10th. And so again, Jupiter is changing sign. Jupiter wasn't there very long. It's going to be less than 2 years that Jupiter will have been in Gemini before moving into Cancer. But nonetheless, this is going to be another part of the sea change that we're seeing in 2025. So Neptune's in the gate 36. Neptune has been in the gate 36 for the last few years. He's retrograded out of it a little bit and then back, but now it's in the gate 36. And then Neptune's going to move into the gate 25 on February 25th. And Neptune's going to be there until about March 2027. So for the next couple of years. Now he's going to move forward into the 17 and retrograde back. But for the majority of the time, Neptune's going to be in the gate 25. And this relates to Neptune moving into Aries. Now, this isn't quite him moving into Aries because the 25 is one of the gates that straddles, okay? It straddles Pisces and it straddles Aries. So it's interesting, like the 60 straddles Aquarius and Capricorn, right? Which is what Pluto just did. And so Neptune is doing a kind of similar thing, but with the inside of the 25. The 25 is a beautiful gate. So the gate 25, it's on the G center and it's the love of spirit or just spirit. It has to do with our individual connection to spirit. How do we connect to spirit in our heart center, right? Our G center. That's really what the 25 is about. And Neptune is going to be there, and we'll see in a second that Saturn's going to catch up and be in the 25 alongside Neptune for quite a while they're both in Aries, right? And so they're going to both be saying to us, how is your relationship to spirit? Your personal individual relationship to spirit. Because again, remember, Aries is a personal sovereignty. It's about the self. It's about the expression of the self. And so we're looking at how are we expressing ourselves by being fueled by our own inner being, by our focus on our inner landscape. I started off the video today talking about the new moon in Capricorn, right? And how that's a great opportunity to be working with your own personal practice. Well, guess what? With Neptune and later Saturn being in the gate 25, this is another time where you have, for a couple of years, a lot of focus on what is your personal relationship to spirit. Now, let me just say, this is not religion, okay? This is not about the structure of religion. That's not what this is about. But I also want to say it doesn't mean that you have to abandon your religion. Like if you have a religious community and a religious practice, it's a beautiful thing. You just also want to make sure that you're infusing it with your own relationship to spirit, not just one that comes through, the church or the synagogue or whatever religion it is that you're following, right? But you are practicing a kind of mystical relationship with spirit, a direct connection with spirit. And this is going to be such a big theme for us all the way through 2025 and indeed through 2027. Then you can see from this image here that Neptune is going to first enter Aries on March 30th. And so it's going to retrograde back later in the year, but that's the first time that Neptune is going to enter there. And then we have Saturn is in the gate 63. So the gate 63 can be a problematic gate, but it doesn't have to be. So it's the beginning of the logic circuit. It's left brain energy. In traditional human design, it's known as doubt, but it can also be considered curiosity. And that's the thing that I always say to people when I do readings or in my classes, is that if you find yourself ever falling into doubt, just do whatever you can to shift into curiosity. This also works with fear, because doubt and fear often are connected to each other. A lot of times we're doubtful and we're fearful, right? They tend to be a little bit like kissing cousins. So both of them you can address by saying, okay, how can I get curious here, right? What's really going on? Is there anything for me to really be doubting, or do I just have a habit of doubt? Because unfortunately, the Western scientific method has taught us to be doubting, to be doubtful, right? And to be like, I don't know, prove it to me. Where's the studies for that? It's even really kind of making into mainstream some of the premises of the scientific method, right? But the best science always begins with curiosity, right? It's like you look out into the sky and you're like, wow, that light is bigger than the other lights. That's how Uranus got discovered to be a planet in 1781, right? Because he was looking out into the sky and saw a light and built his own telescope and was like, wow, I can see that now, right? That's curiosity. So just know anytime you fall into doubt, you want to move into curiosity. But then Saturn, again, moves faster than the outer planets. It's going to move in the gate 22 on January 28th, the gate 36 on March 17th, and then the gate 25 on May 5th. So that's when May 5th is when Saturn is going to join Neptune in gate 25. And Saturn is going to continue in the gate 25 through the early part of 2026. So for most of the year, once he moves in. So again, we're going to have another emphasis. And here, this is Saturn, which is what I was saying about Capricorn. Great support for personal practice. This is like the year, folks. If you've been wanting to create a spiritual practice for yourself and you haven't yet, this is like the year to do it, because there could not be more support for you really in the cosmos for you doing this than right now. So what I said at the beginning is the most important thing we can be doing is growing our personal sovereignty, growing our connection with our own inner being, growing our intuition, growing our ability to be receiving guidance from superconsciousness, right? And to do that, we need to have a spiritual practice. And so here we're going to have Saturn for, almost a year, going to be lighting up the gate 25. It's going to be retrograding and so on, because that's what the planets do. But even so, just be thinking about this as an incredible time for you to be growing your own practice. And you can see here from this image that Saturn is going to first enter Aries on May 25th. And like I said, it's going to retrograde back a little bit over the course of the year. I want to just show you the gates that are going to be lit up by the sun and the earth during the course of January. So you can see here it is. Here they are in the body graph, and there is a concentration of them in the root center. You can see there's many different gates that are activated in the root center and then also on the throat center. So you can go ahead and screenshot this picture if you want, so you have it. And like I said, if you do want to be digging into more of the regular transits, please do come and join me for Master the Neutrino Stream, and we can figure out how we can be working together in this way if that's something that you still want to be doing. Just a couple of highlights here is we do have this channel, the 3536, is being lit up here, and it has been being lit up for the last couple of months. And this is very much a channel that is helping us to be able to express our emotions. It's helping us to express our experiences, to digest our experiences, to be able to digest change that is happening for us. And here we've got our friends Neptune and Jupiter lighting them up. And then during the very first part of this month, we're going to have the 1156 that is lit up. It's over here on the left side of the body, and it's in the sensing circuit or in the miracle circuit in quantum human design. And it's really about our ability to be receiving ideas and to be telling stories that are of the highest level, highest frequency, or the highest level of consciousness that is for the greater good, right? Because this is collective energy. So it's like, how do we take the ideas that we're receiving through that gate 11? And here it is, Mercury is going to be full of ideas, right? And then how are we going to express that through the divine storyteller that Mars is lighting up? So take a look during this period. It's just here at the beginning of the month where these two are lighting up this channel, and just be looking for yourself. Like, what stories are you telling yourself about the collective? And are they stories, since Mars is lighting this up, are they stories that are going to be helping us to move into our spiritual warrior nature, which is what Mars is all about, in his more awakened expression? Or is he becoming the god of war, right? Are we getting into conflict? And that's what we want to be stepping away from as we're raising our consciousness, moving more into an awareness that we are actually all connected, and that war is just it's an element of the Age of Empire. And the Age of Empire is breaking down and falling away. And we're creating the new world even right now. And have been creating it. So the old cycles of things falling away are dying, and the new cycle of things growing are happening simultaneously. It can be a little chaotic when that happens, but we do want to focus on bringing Mars into his more awakened state of being that kind of powerful masculine energy that is protective of living systems, that is protective of Gaia, that is protective of the elderly or children or pregnant women, or, like that masculine force that can be protective, but which is not domineering and dominating, right? Which is not coercive. It's much more protective. And that's a much better role for Mars as we move into the new Earth. So our first big story really had to do with all of these changes of gates and of signs of the outer planets as we go through 2025 and indeed through the next few years. Now, some of you may be aware of the prophecy, the human design prophecy, that has to do with the precession of the equinoxes. It has to do with these really big cycles of time, which I'm not going to go into in this particular video. I will do another video of this later on. But these big cycles that are 24 to 26,000 years long. That prophecy has to do with that level of big change, right? This is how we know we're moving out of the age of Pisces and into the age of Aquarius. One of the hallmarks of that change, of moving from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius, is that we are moving from a more tribal energy to a more individual energy. And I just want to note that here, because if we go back and think about the different things that I've mentioned so far that are going on with the outer planets, these are not part of the prophecy of human design, but they are all happening at the same time. And there's so much emphasis about personal sovereignty, about individual empowerment, about our ability to speak our truth, our ability to put a stake in the ground about what we really believe in, our ability to advocate for and take powerful actions around what matter to us. All of this is individual energy. And so it's coming on powerfully in 2025. And I'll circle back to that in a second. Every year, we celebrate the Human Design New Year on when the sun moves into the gate 41. Now, that's usually January 21st or 22nd. It's also when we're transitioning into Aquarius, right? We're moving out of Capricorn into Aquarius. So the sun is starting to enter Aquarius. We've got a theme going here, right? But the gate 41 is particularly significant. It's known as the initiating codon of our DNA. Now, let me show you this picture here. So the picture on the left is the one of the amino acids as they relate to our DNA. And down on the bottom here, you can see a little arrow that says start. So that's known as the initiating codon of our DNA. It's where a sequence begins. It's where the action starts to take place, because amino acids create proteins, and proteins make stuff happen inside of us. So this is the initiating codon. Well, it turns out, and Richard Rudd has done a really great job with this in the Gene Keys if you want to dig into this a little bit more, but the gate 41 maps on exactly to this initiated codon. And as it turns out, the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, which are the 64 gates of the human design system, map on to these codons of our DNA. Fascinating, right? So we've got the sun moving into the gate 41, but guess what? We've got Pluto moving into the gate 41 on January 30th, just a little more than a week afterwards. So in the human design world, this is actually the big deal. More than Pluto moving into Aquarius, although of course 41 is in Aquarius. But the reason for this is that, so the story goes, right, is Pluto, it changes everything that he goes through, right? Pluto is, as I mentioned before, Pluto is Phoenix energy. Pluto is like, let's come in, clean it out. Let's get rid of the corruption. Let's get rid of things that don't work anymore. Let's get rid of things that are just outdated. You know, they lived their life and it's time to be done. Let's just move all that out so we can rebuild from a fresh place. So Pluto is going to be doing that with every single gate in the human design system over the next 248 years, which is how long a Pluto cycle is. And so we're going to be getting an upgrade of our experience of all of the gates. But according to the story, we're also going to be upgrading our very DNA during this cycle. So I offer this to you as something to contemplate and imagine what this could mean for you. Now, we're going to be in the gate 41 for a while. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 years. This is not a thing that you have to like figure out right away, but it is something to be contemplating, to be looking at how is Pluto going to be moving through my psyche and helping to upgrade different aspects of my DNA as he's starting this initiating codon at the end of January, and it's going to keep moving around that human design mandala, right? Long after you and I are no longer here, right? There is a brief period when he's going to retrograde back into the gate 60. We may feel some limitations during that time because the 60 is partially known as limitations. So we may feel a pulling back during that time. There are other planets that are going to be retrograding back as well during that time. So like I said, it's not just a barreling forward without any revisiting of where we've already been. But this is a big deal in the human design world. Now, the prophecy says that in 2027, this is the precession of the equinoxes, right? We're moving into the gauge of Aquarius, and even the human design chart is going to change. Now, I'm not going to go into that right now. I am going to be interviewing some people this year that I hope are going to shed some more light on that for us. But just to know that this has been going on for the last 400 years, and we're starting a new Pluto cycle. And the last Pluto cycle started in 1781, which is actually when the Constitution was ratified here in the United States. It's also when Uranus was discovered out in the night sky. So this is a revolutionary time. Very revolutionary, very countercultural, very new Earth-ish. I think we all are painfully aware at this point that the promise of the Declaration of Independence and even of the U.S. Constitution has never been fully realized here in the United States, and yet it's something that we still aspire to. Because it is a hallmark of unity consciousness, that we recognize that we are created equal and that we are here on this planet to really be in community, to work together, and to create a better world for all of us. And so Pluto is going to be activating that, and the gate 41 is the gate of imagination. It's known as fantasy in traditional human design, which is kind of its lower expression or its shadow expression, where it's kind of ungrounded, kind of doesn't know what it's doing, it's making up fantasies, wishful thinking could go there, right? But if you can think of this instead as imagination, primal, it's on the root center, primal imagination. How are you going to be unleashing your imagination starting right here at the end of January and carrying you forward, right? How are you going to strip away the way that your imagination has been co-opted by all the entertainment, right? All the social media, all the movies, all the TV, all the images, all the stuff, right? It's really co-opted our imagination a lot. I know for me, like I have to work pretty hard to get into my own imaginative state because so much of it is full of the images of things that I have watched or stories that I've listened to. One of the reasons I love to read novels is it helps open my imagination. But then I'm full of other people's stories, right? So part of this is how are we going to be taking command again of our own imaginations, creating our own stories, creating our own way through. So this is very empowering for us when we choose to take it on as something that is beneficial for us. And I know some of you might be feeling kind of afraid about what's going to happen in 2025. There are certainly things that are happening in the outer world that are distressing. I mean, we've had war the last few years on a scale that we haven't seen in generations, really. And so, yeah, there's stuff going on that is troubling. For sure. I mean, we've still got extreme weather events. We still have climate change. We've got political unrest. We've got economic, massive inequality financially in our world. Like all that, right? All that. And I want to just encourage you to be focusing on what empowers you, right? How can you take a hold of your personal sovereignty? Your personal ability to be in command of your life. And this is going to require really turning inward and not focusing all that stuff that's going on out there. We want to be aware enough, but we don't want to be drawn in, right? You want to be able to witness. You want to be able to discern. You want to be able to go, oh yeah, okay, I need to take action here or there, or I want to support this group of people, or I want to partner with this group of people. We want to be able to do that. Like, you don't want to totally stick your head in the sand, but you also don't want to be pulled into fear. You don't want to allow yourself to be overly manipulated by the powers that control the media, for example. Right? Because those are not benevolent forces. They're not forces that are there for you for your highest good. They're driven by profit, generally speaking. So part of what is all of this change that we're talking about is our ability to gain more command of our lives and to be able to strip it away, the conditioning that is not beneficial to us or that we've just outgrown. How can we grow our individual empowerment, right? And then how can we move out into the world, connecting with our soul tribe and helping to create the new earth that we are so desirous of? So later in the month of January, I will be offering an event which is going to be helping us to focus on growing our sovereignty through 2025 and beyond. That'll be happening January 20th to the 25th. We'll get to welcome in the Human Design New Year together. I always like to do that. And we'll be looking at how do we grow our personal sovereignty in community aligned with cosmic consciousness, because this is our assignment going forward. Right? Is how do we do that? And how do we do that and support each other in that project? All right, my dears, I know this was a long, in-depth video. Thank you for hanging in here with me till the end. Do come and join us for Mastering the Neutrino stream on January 7th, where we'll be talking more about the transits, and I'll be letting you know more about the Sovereignty Challenge that'll be happening later in January as well. Okay, many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.